Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lion, the Way, and the War, where we discuss Jesus, His church, and the spiritual battle that surrounds us all. My name is Craig Allison, and I'll be your host. All right, joining me on today's podcast is Tahlia Clark, who is from Chattanooga, right here in town. She is graduated with a degree, an AFA, and I need to just read this. I'm trying to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't. She graduated with an AFA in theater performance from Chattanooga State last spring and is currently in her junior year taking online classes from Heritage Christian University. This is her second year as a student ambassador working at the Christian Student Center at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And in her downtime, she enjoys reading, cooking, and singing. Tahlia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. What is you have a degree in AFA in theater performance. What does AFA stand for?
It stands for Associate of Fine Arts.
Okay. And so I know that you did some acting, theater performance stuff, I guess, for your degree, right? So
Yeah.
I saw you in a show some time ago, and you're trained to be an actor, or is it an actress?
Yeah.
But I hear females referred to as actors now. When did that change?
Yeah. I don't. As long as I've been doing it, it's never been set in stone. Like actor, actress, the gender isn't that. Like for actress, it's very defined. Actor can refer to either, whereas actress is like female.
Is this like, are we getting into like, what's your favorite pronoun, or what is your preferred
No, like
pronoun?
in the Bible when it says like man or men, and they mean it can be men or women.
Okay, gotcha.
Like actor can be men or women.
Gotcha. What do you prefer, actress, when you're referred to as a?
I don't really have a preference.
Okay, all right. What, like, brief pop quiz. What's your best serious face?
What?
Like, you're acting now, so give me your best serious face.
Serious meaning what? Like just
serious, like you have
deadpan or
no,
like
just serious face. Like if we're having a serious discussion, something serious is being said, what is the face that you would portray?
Well, it depends on what the discussion is about and who I'm talking to and my relationship with the other person.
Oh, I would hate to be your director.
Well, then it's easy because you're doing it in the context of a show. And so you know all of the given information and you develop your character. So then it comes naturally. But if you just give like an emotion like be angry, well, there's a lot of different types of anger. And who am I angry towards and what is it about? And that's going to color the way that the anger expresses itself.
Okay, so I don't really care. I just want to see your serious, like what would be like, I don't know. I don't know what to even say. Just serious face. I just want to see a serious face. What about contemplative? Well, okay, what about bored? Relaxed.
Are we just going to keep going?
I'm just trying to see if I can distinguish between, to see just how good of an actor / actress you are.
Okay.
So relaxed.
Are you planning on hiring me for something?
Maybe. You never know where this could lead. You don't know who's watching.
That is true.
You may have some director be like, did you see the difference between her bored face and her relaxed face? It was mesmerizing.
I don't think most directors are going through podcasts trying to find their next actor.
They might be. You never know. People get discovered in weird places. So
true.
And I would be like playing a part in this. Okay. Serious discussion now. Serious face on.
Okay.
Last week I had a guy on here. You know him, Corey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
How's that going with him?
How's what going?
You're dating Corey, right?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. So, is he a decent boyfriend?
I would say so. Yeah.
You think he's going to listen to this podcast?
Probably.
Corey, I have something to tell you. Right before we started the show, she was telling me that you're in a lot of trouble because you forgot your first date anniversary, and now you're going to have to make up big time for it. And so she said that the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you take her to Ruth Chris Steakhouse. So start saving your money. See, I'm already helping out your relationship.
I appreciate it.
All right. Future plans. What's going on for you in the future, like next 5 years?
I'm trying to figure that out right now. So that's a fantastic question.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I can book work in theater because I did that last summer. So I know I can get jobs there, but the jobs would not be in town, and I'm not looking to move away right now. So I'm kind of exploring my options in town and seeing what I can do here.
Okay.
So, I do all of the culinary stuff as well, and so seeing what kind of jobs are also available in that industry.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about. I've asked you to teach me how to cook a certain dish, and you've agreed to do that. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I forgot what it was though.
Beef Wellington.
Beef Wellington. Yeah, beef Wellington. That's going to be. Never had it, never ate it, never cooked it, but I want to know how, and I want to know what it tastes like. Okay, so like the performing arts, and there's a reason that I've been kind of silly with the performing arts, because I actually do have a serious question about your degree, because you and I have talked a little bit about the culture that is pervasive in the theater world, performing arts world. It's, I would say, a culture that is not biblically grounded or minded. A lot of alternative lifestyles, and so I'm curious to know how you navigated that world, because you came in and you're bringing a much different worldview. So, yeah, how did that work for you?
Yeah, it can be very difficult. I guess one of the upsides is that because theater is supposed to be so inclusive to all lifestyles and they want to be so affirming and stuff, that means there's not going to be open persecution of me for my faith. So unless they feel like I'm pushing it in somebody's face or something, other than that, they'll know that I'm a Christian, and even if they don't agree with it, they're not going to attack me for it because they want me to show them the same respect. So that's one of the good things, is it is going to limit what you can do, right? The roles that you can take and the things that you're willing to do, right? I have a lot more boundaries in place than a non-Christian artist would, because there are some things where I'm like, that's just too far. That's crossing a moral boundary. I can't do that. So I have a lot more boundaries in place, and it can make my relationships with the other actors a little bit different. Also, just because like scheduling, people who aren't Christian, they don't have the same like Sundays and Wednesdays and times set aside for Bible study. And so they're like, sure, Sunday morning I can do whatever. And I'm like, no, that's time that I already have set aside. So it can sometimes cause some strain a little bit between relationships. It's mostly with people who have been hurt by the church and have gone to churches and been shamed because of their alternative lifestyles. And so it's usually hurt from that causes a negative reaction if I say, hey, I'm a Christian, and if their first instinct is negative, it's because they've gone to a church, their parents are in the church, or someone in their life is, and they have shamed them and not been, I don't know how to put it. It's like the first reaction was, oh, you're going to hell, instead of, hey, I love you, let's talk about this, let's figure this out. Yeah. It's been from a place of let me attack you and tell you everything that's wrong in your life.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is, that happens. I mean, and, I'm not picking on any one particular, faith background or denomination or whatever you want to call it, but I know just from a broad spectrum, I've talked to people who won't have anything to do with church or spirituality, or have even become atheists simply because of experiences growing up in some type of toxic church environment. So did you have any opportunity then to maybe reset a person's way of thinking about what a Christian actually is, or who a Christian is?
I did the best I could. I mean, with my small group that I had at the student center, 3 of the 4 people I had in my small group were people they were all theater majors from school with me. So we had that dynamic, and that was really encouraging because it would be the type of thing where we're all auditioning for a show together, and like we could say out loud, "Hey, I'm praying for you. Can you pray for me?" And so just having that connection where it's like we are showing our spirituality around other people without being like, "Oh, let me put this on you," but we're just like to each other. Okay. Or just trying to make that connection of like, yeah, I keep my Bible in my backpack, and sometimes while everyone else is doing homework, I'm reading my Bible and things like that, so they can see, or like that's why I keep a Bible in my car, is so that when I'm giving rides to my friends and people that aren't Christian, they can see that and they know, oh, she is a Christian. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a little bit of that gentle reminder, because I'm not going around trying to shove it down everybody's throats. Right. But I do feel like everyone that I meet needs to know I'm a Christian. And if they don't, then something's wrong. Do
you ever get any kind of pushback from people in that setting because you are a Christian?
Not really, no. Everyone was pretty nice. And I also tried to be pretty strategic with how I mentioned it and how I brought it up, because I did know a lot of the people there had gone to churches, or some of them had like one parent that was Christian, mm-hmm. and they didn't have good relationships with them. So they weren't completely,
it wasn't completely foreign to them.
No, most of them had been hurt by people in the church, or had gone to churches, and that's why they were so against it.
Gotcha. Okay. So how would you categorize that particular culture, the theater group? Are they open or receptive to, you said you had 3 of the 4 in the small group were from like theater majors or other people who were?
Yeah, the majority. I only had one person in my small group last year that was actually from the student center. Everybody else I pulled in from school, and they were all like in my classes from my major.
Okay. And so they were open, I guess, to having Bible studies and talking about Jesus and other things.
Yeah, they were, 2 of them in particular were very hungry for that and wanted that. And they were all raised with different denominational backgrounds, and they all came from different places, but they were very hungry to know what the Bible said, and just know what it meant. And so they were very receptive to just wanting to learn and wanting to talk about things.
Yeah. Were any of these ones that had come from a background where they had that toxic exposure to Christianity and were more prone not to have anything to do with it?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, so this is, I guess, closing this part of the conversation out, and this may be just like a super random question, but is there anything that as Christians we can learn from that community?
I mean, I think if we are willing, we can learn something from everyone, because no one is completely bad or completely good, right? We all have that conflict. Mm-hmm. So first off, you're going to have to be willing to learn. But I think we can learn how to listen. They're not always the best at listening, but if we can get better at listening and listening to those people and acknowledging, yeah, sometimes as Christians we do handle things wrong. And sometimes we don't do things the right way. Yeah. And that does impact other people, and it can impact them eternally.
Sure.
And so we need to have the humility to be able to recognize that and be able to listen, because then if we show that we are open and receptive and that we love them, then they are going to be willing to hear what we have to say and why we believe what we believe.
Right. And that may be something that they have not been exposed to in the past from Christians. I guess I do have one other question. Why do you think that the entertainment, theater, culture, worldview, or that whole environment, why does it seem to attract the ones that have, what we would consider very alternative lifestyles that are, I'm afraid to put a label on it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think some of it is due to, in theater at least, you're performing things and you're showing people from all aspects and all walks of life. And so because of that, it's like, okay, we're putting these things on stage so that people can learn through them and learn about culture, and theater can influence culture, politics, all of those different things. And I think it does attract a lot of those people because they want to represent where they come from, and also because we are presenting a lot of sensitive topics. And so because of that, there is very much a culture of like tolerance and respect there. Now that doesn't always happen, but there's very much like you will respect the people that you're working with and the people that you're around. And generally you're held to a very high standard. And so because of that, it feels like a very safe environment, because if you are attacking somebody else, you're going to get fired because that's just not acceptable.
Gotcha. All right. Last question on this, and then I promise we're going to move on. Like, has anyone ever literally broken a leg, like during a performance?
I'm sure someone has.
But in your environment or experience? Rather.
I have never seen someone break their literal leg.
Okay. Would it be a cause for celebration if they did?
No, that's not the leg we're referring to. Oh.
Where does that even come from? I said one more question, but I don't know if you know the answer to that. It's a good trivia question.
It comes from, on a stage you have the curtains and you have the wings, right? And the fabric that separates the wings, those are called legs, right? And so used to in theater, you only make money if you go on stage. Like if the show gets canceled for some reason, if you have been on stage, you will get paid. If you haven't, you won't get paid. So breaking a leg means you've gotten out on stage, which means you're getting paid.
Get out of here. That's really the answer to that?
Yeah.
See, I learned something today. That's all. I didn't know, really. I just thought it was literally you break a leg. It's good luck or something.
No, it's like, hey, get paid today.
Okay. Folks, you learned something today, right? I wonder how many people actually knew the answer to that.
I don't know.
Okay. So as you may know, I'm asking all of the student leadership, CSC, this same question because I'm curious to see the variances of thinking on it. So the question is this: what do you think is the biggest challenge for you and other college students in regards to your faith or their faith while at college?
For a lot of students, it's the fact that they don't know what they believe and they haven't developed their own faith, and so they're still on their parents' views and what their parents have taught them or their grandparents, whoever has been their biggest spiritual influence, and they haven't actually read the Bible themselves to see, is that what the Bible says, and do they believe that? It's just, oh yeah, my parents told me this, so sure, that's true. And they haven't taken the time and done the research to know that for themselves. So there's very little incentive since they haven't put in the work.
How is that a risk to them?
A risk to their spirituality?
Yeah.
Well, if they don't put in the work, then their faith is going to fizzle out because they don't have their own faith. They're just living off what other people tell them. And some people are going to be telling them good things, but then there's also a lot of people out there that are, it's easy to misinterpret scripture. And so someone can unintentionally be saying the wrong thing, and then you start believing this thing and you don't realize that it's actually contrary to what the Bible says. Because you haven't put in the work and thought about it and read and figured out whether or not it's true.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. That's an interesting take. Normally the answers I've been getting so far have been, it's just like, exposure to, the lifestyle of college, the partying and that kind of stuff, getting pulled in, your friend group. I've heard that one. Who you hang around with. But I guess here in the South, you would have a lot of students coming that have some type of religious background as part of the Bible Belt, I guess, whatever. And then for the first time being challenged to, do I want to actually practice what mom and dad practiced and keep going to church? Speaking of, what is it about churches that seem to either push college students away or bring college students in for the first time outside of mom and dad's home? They've got that autonomy to choose whether or not they're going to get up and go to church. So they go to church and either, it's going to be I want to come back here again, or I'm not stepping foot in this place again.
I think it really depends on the student. I've met some students where they're very theologically minded, and so they're really listening to see what the views are of the church. I've met some students who are looking for an emotional high, and so they like instruments and things that are going to give them a big emotional reaction. I've also met other students who they're just lonely. They don't have anyone, and so a church that is welcoming is something that they're looking for. So I think it really depends on the student and what they're looking for in a church.
If you could sum it up, though, like if you were a consultant to a church leadership team, bringing in the college perspective because they're interested in your demographic and attracting college students and keeping them, what would you recommend that they do?
The biggest thing is be welcoming, be a family, and be supportive. When I lived in Boone this summer. I took a theater job there, and there was only one Church of Christ in Boone. There was one a little farther away that I could have gone to. But that one church that I went to, like the first Sunday I showed up, there was a sweet older couple there. They met me. They took me out to lunch. They took care of me. It was a very sweet and welcoming church. And it was a very small church. They had maybe 40 or 50 people. But everyone was so nice and so sweet, and they really tried to treat me like family. That kept me wanting to go back, other than just the fact that, I was determined I'm going to be going to church this summer and all of that.
Yeah. Good information. So this is a different one that I have not asked. What are the challenges, what challenges are unique to female college students that might not be as apparent or that people may not realize? So I'm not going to say. I just want to leave that open. I don't want to influence your answer in any way.
Do you mean like challenges that they face in college, challenges with their faith, with the church?
All of the above. Clearly, this podcast is focused on the spiritual battle that surrounds us, and I know that college students are faced with a lot of different options that are not good options to get things to get involved with that I think Satan would like you to get involved with. And I'm curious to know from the female perspective if there are challenges that are specific to college girls that maybe the guys aren't necessarily faced with, that maybe need to be brought up as a discussion point.
I think a lot of girls, I don't want to say they're a little bit easier to manipulate, but sometimes they can be, depending on how they've grown up and what their friend groups are. So it takes a lot of conscious effort on their part if they're going to choose what lifestyle they want. I also think a lot of them, and this is across the board, a lot of college students haven't necessarily thought about what they want out of their college life. And so it's very easy to be influenced by friends. And so they'll go to college and they may have planned on, oh yeah, sure, I'll go to church or do whatever. But then all of their roommates don't go to church and they're inviting them to these parties. And hey, if you're a girl, you can get into the party for free. So may as well go. And then a lot of girls also are looking to get married. And a lot of guys are too, but I think it's more of a female thing for the girls to want to try and get married or get engaged within their 4 years at college. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, I'll meet more people this way. And they're not necessarily thinking about, well, am I meeting the type of person that I want? And they're just so focused on meeting someone that you can meet someone, but is it really someone that's worth it?
What would you say is the biggest mistake that freshman girls make when they come to college?
From what I've seen, if I'm being honest, a lot of them are very flirty, and it'll attract one kind of friend group and it'll push all the other girls away. And so it really limits the girls that they can be friends with, because the other girls that are also they've just moved away from home, they want to find a boyfriend, right? They're going to be attracted to that too, because they're looking for the same thing. They have the same goal. But all of the girls that are not looking for that right now, and that's not what they're focused on, they're going to be put off by that. So they're automatically limiting their circle. And then a lot of guys are going to be put off by that too, and not going to want to be their friends because they feel uncomfortable.
Gotcha. Okay. So knowing what you know right now, you're a junior this year, right? So you're quickly approaching the end of your college career, unless you go to grad school. So knowing what you know now, if you could give a warning or advice or encouragement or all three things to, let's say, 11th and 12th grade Tahlia that's about to leave home and come to college, or any girl for that matter, okay? But if you could, go talk back to your younger self that's about to embark on this college journey, or another girl that's about to embark on this college journey, what warnings, what advice, what encouragement would you give to them?
I would encourage them to think ahead past college, because obviously the goal in college is to get your degree. But think about, well, what are you wanting to do with that? And not just career-wise, but think past that and think, what do you want your relationships to look like? What do you want your lifestyle to be? And thinking about that in college as well, so that it's not just, okay, I've got my degree, I've graduated, what next? And then you're on to the next thing, but thinking about enjoying, so that you can enjoy the quality of life that you have, and make sure that you don't get some degree thinking this is what I want and then realize this isn't compatible with what I truly want out of life and what I want to be doing.
There's a lot of college students, though, that they really don't know what they want to do in life. They get there, they just they have no idea. They haven't figured it out. So what would you say to them?
I would say figure out, what do you want people to know about you? What do you want them to think about you as a person? And figure out who you want to be. So, for me, I know, I want to be hospitable. And so, past college, I didn't want to have a lot of debt, because I wanted to be able to have a family and have a lot of people over and minister to others in that way. And so I chose a degree that's going to allow me to have a little bit more time, a little bit more flexibility, so that I can make those choices and have the ability to do that. Whereas, if I went into, say, nursing school, that's really going to limit me for a while. And yeah, maybe later on down the road I could get there, but how many years is it going to take for that? And how miserable would I be before that?
Yeah. Is it, I'm going to use the word cool, because that's the only word that's popping in my head. Is it cool to be a Jesus lover these days in college, or is that just, you're weird, we're not going to have anything to do with you?
It's cool to say you love Jesus. Actually living it out is not always cool. So if you say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, I love Jesus, no one has a problem with that. Mm-hmm. But if you're actually trying to live out the biblical principles and actually trying to establish those, then people are going to start having problems with you. Because loving others, no one has an issue with that.
Right.
But some of those other things, when you start refraining from gossiping and holding yourself and other people accountable and things like that, then people are like, oh, no, that's not cool. Your gossip is the fun stuff. Why are you not participating in that?
Yeah. Thank you for answering these questions and being candid and open, willing to talk. I know our conversations in the past have always intrigued me, especially your perspective with a group of people that are typically not considered to be worth a Christian's time to try to influence, just because they're pretty far afield from spiritual matters, from a Christian paradigm, a Christian worldview. So that's always been intriguing to me. So we always close the show out with a Bible verse that the guest will read. So you've got a favorite Bible verse that you want to share with us.
I do. This one is just one that I've been thinking about a lot recently. It is Philippians 4:8, and it says, "Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things."
I like that verse. Kind of sums up, really some of the stuff we've been talking about. Think about good things. Think about your life, what your life looks like ahead of time, where you want to be 5 years, 10 years from now. It's not too young to start thinking about that stuff, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay, so give us feedback on our show. We've got a YouTube channel that if you are watching and you like what you see and you want to get notifications of a new episode that gets aired, click like, subscribe to the channel. Next week, we are going to be having a guest on the show from Chattanooga Christian Counseling Services. He's the director of that. His name is Jason Brazier. He is a counselor, and we're going to be tackling some pretty sensitive topics and talking about some mental health issues as they relate to not only college students, but we're going to talk about others as well. If you'd like to sponsor the show, we're always looking for new sponsors to join us. Speaking of sponsors, shout out to Ministry League. We're going to try to remember to put their QR code on this screen. So somewhere up here towards the end, we'll include that QR code. So it's a great app. The more I look at it, the more I'm impressed with all of the resources there that people can access. And then finally, if you are thinking about someone that you might know that needs to share their story, always looking for guests to be on our show that would be relevant and resonate with our listeners if they've got a story to share. So feel free to reach out. Our website is thelionthewayandthewar@gmail.com. Shoot us an email, and I read all of our emails, so I will see it if you send it, and would love to have somebody that you recommend on the show that you think needs to be heard. And maybe that's you. So feel free to shoot me an email. Until our next episode, our next podcast of The Lion, the Way, and the War, be kind to one another, love one another, and remember that the Creator of the universe loves you so much that He gave His only Son up for you. Have a blessed day.